Hi and welcome to the Digital Camera School. Today's module will be talking about the auto exposure lock. So the auto exposure lock, what we'd like to do, if we look at this picture of the church, the brickwork is very dark and we would like to actually expose that as well as the window area. So how do we get from this to this? Well, what is the exposure lock? Exposure lock function on your camera does exactly what it says. It will take an exposure reading at any point and lock it into your camera's memory once you hit the exposure lock button. Normally the reading stays locked for a period of around 10 to 15 seconds and before setting itself, which should be enough time for you to recompose and take your shot. So where is it? Well, on Canon it's actually on your shutter. All you need to do is press your shutter halfway down and that's locking your auto exposure. On the Nikon you press your shutter and at the back of the camera you'll see an AE and an AF button. That will be your auto exposure lock. So if we take a picture of the bride and groom, and if I just took a normal picture with the viewfinder in the middle, what would happen is the camera would see the sea and would see the clouds and say too bright, you'd have to darken down everything, bringing down your shutter, your ISO and your aperture. But the problem with that would make the bride and groom too dark. So we need to compromise. And how do we do that? Well, if we refocus and reposition our camera onto the bride and groom first of all, then you press your shutter halfway down, or in the Nikon case press the two buttons together. Once you've done that, you have 10 to 15 seconds to recompose your picture. So now we recompose it to the bride and groom that are on your left hand side of the viewfinder, and you follow through by pressing the shutter, and then you'll get the correct exposure. So let's look at other examples. If we take the boy by the water, he is totally underexposed because of the water and the sun shining on the water and saying very bright, turn down everything, your shutter, your ISO and your aperture. But then if we reposition onto the boy like he did on the rock here, even though it's very bright, we can get a correct exposure by just having an auto exposure lock. So now if we go back to the church when we first started and we reposition our camera, so we take a reading from the dark area, which is obviously of the wall, press the shutter halfway down, reposition, follow through by pressing the shutter, and hey presto, we get that exposure. So hopefully you've learned something there. If you're looking for other modules on beginners of photography, please go to my website, thedigitalcameraschool.com. If not, why not send me an email and suggesting that you'd like to see other videos. Thank you very much.